Hi, I'm Danielle, and this is Chatter Out Loud, a podcast where I share thoughts and TV commentary, starting with one of my favorite shows, Big Brother. In this episode, I'm giving you a Big Brother Weekend Rewind. So this season of Big Brother 23 had its first eviction of the week. Frenchie was the HOH, and he nominated Alyssa and Kyland. Surprised by the nominations, house guests were very confused and unclear on Frenchie's direction in the game. Even Frenchie himself felt regret after putting Alyssa on the block. One thing I wanted to say is that my comments on Frenchie, I stand by. I feel he's erratic, he's paranoid, he causes chaos, and I often said I just don't want to give him credit for being a strategic player. I don't think he's strategic. Because the chaos he creates, yes, it draws attention to him and away from individual gameplay, and sometimes vice versa. But in terms of planning for his longevity in the house to persuade jury members to vote for him to win the game, I just don't see how his actions are getting him to that place. Everyone sees through him. So let's say he gets to the end of the game and gives his reasoning for why he should win. No one will believe him. They'll most certainly will remember his foolery. But what I will say is that he is intentional with his actions. He looks to stir the pot in the house, and he keeps people confused, and he has a lot of paranoia. And when people are confused in the game, it shifts how they play, and sometimes it works in his favor, but it will only be for a short term, right? And looking at this objectively, some say he could be strategic, but to me, strategy includes a plan. Ultimately, the plan is to win the game. You win the game by votes. You gain votes by others' perception on how they feel you played the game. And we all know it's just not about competitions. It's more about the social aspect and how you made people feel. And with the way he's making people feel confused and manipulated and less than, that doesn't win you the game of Big Brother. And with all of Frenchie's antics, I just don't feel like Frenchie plans anything with the purpose of trying to get to the end. Nor do I think he's playing to win. He's operating off of emotion. He wants to get back at the quote-unquote meatheads. But if you remember, he was close to the meatheads when they got Travis out. So it's all chaotic and it's all confusing. I just don't think he's a smart player, but he is intentional about making noise in the house. I just don't think he's a smart player. All right, so moving forward, during this week, Derek X won the power of veto and decided to use it on Kyland to remove him from the block, leaving an empty seat. Frenchie then nominates Travis in Kyland's place. Alyssa worked through the house guests vying for her spot in the house, trying to sway the house guests to vote for her to stay. I don't remember seeing Travis doing the same thing with the house guests, but he did state his case to Frenchie and Brent. And well, Travis's effort, or lack thereof, it didn't work, and he was voted out with 11 votes and Alyssa had 2. Moving forward to the next HOH competition, that was won by Kyland, and we saw that by the end of the night, and I was happy to see that. And Julie ended the show telling the viewers that the next wildcard competition will have a twist in that the winner would have to switch teams for safety. So we'll learn and we'll see how all of that works. We'll see who Kyland would nominate and the impact that has on the game. And the other part of this Big Brother Weekend Rewind, I wanted to offer a few other observations in the game. And in the first day of Kyland's HOH. So it's not necessarily giving you spoilers because I won't tell you who Kyland nominates, but I just want to share a few observations I've made. So as HOH in the first day, Kyland held both group and one-on-one meetings with the house guests. The meetings were structured down to the minute, right? He was like, hey, so-and-so, she has to come up at 3:24. And during his discussions with the house guests, he chose not to answer any of their questions. And in turn, he just wanted them to share information with him. The way he asked questions to them, he was making inference to Frenchie and how they felt about him being nominated, but not actually using Frenchie's name. So I thought that was clever. Most of Frenchie's quote-unquote allies threw him under the bus immediately, which just proves my point in that they see through Frenchie and all his antics. So it's not working for him, right? Is Frenchie really being strategic? I don't think so, because it's just not working. People are throwing him under the bus left and right. Everyone sees through Frenchie at this point in the game. And is how Frenchie's playing really working for him? You know? Tiffany, I'm Team Tiffany. I always say that. Tiffany is playing a very strategic game, and I like it. I do fear, though, that she will become more of a target because she has a great social game. And she is one that is very strategic. So it's unlike Frenchie. Tiffany is very strategic. And when the house begins to calm down and the noise is muffled, I just fear more attention will be on how well Tiffany is playing. You know, I just hope that they realize that too late, like when she's in the final 3 or final 2, you know. Derek F., I think he's hurting his game with not only his paranoia, he's developing paranoia now, but with his infatuation with Frenchie. I tweeted that last night with what I was seeing on the live feeds. Derek always talks about how much he loves Frenchie and all this other stuff. He just has an infatuation. I hope it's all an act for the house guests, but I'm not so sure. I just really don't like it, and I feel like he has the potential to damage the Cookout Alliance. I really hope I'm wrong about that, but if there was one person to sacrifice in the cookout, I think Derek would be that one, at least for right now, because he's carrying on about Frenchie and doesn't understand the nominations that Colin made, which is obviously him feeling that way and sharing that with the house guests and being loud about it. Obviously it conflicts with his Alliance team member from the cookout, which is Colin, right? So I don't know if he's doing this just to throw people off so they won't suspect he's aligned with Colin, or if he really feels that way. Either way, I think how he's handling this right now is just hurting his game in the long run. So we'll have to see about that. Okay, and I don't know why I'm surprised by this, but Frenchie feels that he's so good at the game that production should just write him a check. And mind you, that was while he was HOH, right? In the first week. Now that he's not HOH, in the first day of Kylan's HOH, now he's running around the house saying if he ever left the house or left the show, it would basically be a bore without him. And see, I don't think things like that, I think that's erratic. I don't think that's working for him. That's not strategy. That's not working for him. People are not, even if he made it to the, well, let me stay on track. One thing I was thinking about, because I watch a lot of, well, not a lot, but I watch a few YouTubers that gives reviews on Big Brother. And mind you, I do watch them after I've already taken my notes and done my own podcast. So in the middle of editing, I would watch theirs and stuff like that. But I was thinking about this because some people do feel that Frenchie is smart in the game and he is strategic. I have a different opinion. I mean, I think back to Evil Dick and some of what he did on his season. And then I think about Josh and how he performed his antics during his season. But the one thing for Josh, I have to remember that Josh, when he won his season, I think that was season 19, if I'm not mistaken. I think people voted against Paul opposed to for Josh. So maybe Josh isn't the best analogy to use for Frenchie right now. So I'm going to go back with Evil Dick, that thought process. Evil Dick was a lot in his season. He antagonized the guests. He was loud. He was just a lot. He was entertaining to watch, but it kind of reminds me of what Frenchie is attempting to do, somewhat. Two things that always enters my mind when I think about Evil Dick is how he antagonized Jamaica with those magic ping pong balls and then Dustin in the pots, right? So we haven't seen Frenchie do that, but he is as loud as Evil Dick was. You know, he has antics. I won't compare them to be as well as Evil Dick's antics. But again, Evil Dick's gameplay, it worked for him. He won his season. I don't think that what Frenchie is doing will yield him a win. Because in the end, you know, I just don't think it's working for Frenchie. Maybe I'm blinded because I'm not a fan of Frenchie at all. But I just don't think that what he's doing will get him to the end, and I don't think he'll win, right? People remember how you made them feel. And right now, he's making people feel manipulated, less than. It's just not working. I don't think it's working. I don't think it's strategic either. All right, the live feeds were definitely on fire the week with Frenchie as the HOH, and it was exhausting. I imagine that things will be a little calmer with Kylan as HOH. Maybe not. After every nomination, there's a lot of stir in the house, which makes for great TV and the drama. It's a lot of gameplay left to play. There's 15 other house guests to be entertained by. So we'll see who Kylan will nominate, how that impacts the house. We'll see who wins the wild card competition and how they deal with the twist. And we'll see who wins the POV and how that's played. I will be here for it all, and we'll come back to share my recaps and thoughts on all of the gameplay that ensues. So be sure to come back and give me a listen, give me a follow, subscribe, leave me a comment, leave me a message. You can find me by looking for Chatter Out Loud. I have this podcast, I tweet, I'm on YouTube. So if you look for Chatter Out Loud, you'll find me. I'm also putting links in the description so you can find you have to check that out so you can find me. Just look for Chatter Out Loud. So my name is Danielle, and you're listening to my podcast, Chatter Out Loud. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your support, and that's all I have. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.